Good morning, traders. Today is Monday, April 4th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, so what's been happening with the market? Well, we had this large downtrend that we had been stuck in for a while, and we finally broke out of that downtrend, which gave us some excess to the upside. We then had a 3-day balance where the market rotated sideways to balance off that excess, and then we broke out once again, creating more excess into last week. And in the last couple days of last week, we decided to repair that excess, not like we did this with rotating at higher prices, but instead to repair that excess with price. So there's always two ways to repair excess. You push up, you either repair with time by rotating at a higher price and then breaking out, or you push up and then you repair with price where you pull back down, and that's how you repair the excess. So we perfectly came down on Friday and tested that previous balance area high, found some support there, and the overnight over the weekend looks pretty strong to me. We stayed up in the upper end of Friday's range. So that to me is a little bit bullish today, as we have balanced off the excess, which means we have balance, and balance often leads to more excess. So now that we've repaired this excess here, we are set up to create some more. Now, it doesn't mean we have to push higher today. We may just go sideways, or we may get continuation of the downtrend here today. Value was lower on Friday, which is a sign that the momentum continues to the downside. So it's certainly not impossible to imagine that we could just go sideways or have a continuation lower today. But my guess is the market wanted to just repair that excess. And now that it is, we've got the green light to start heading higher here today. So the first order of business is going to be, do we have a gap, right? We're floating around right above yesterday's high. So if we open above yesterday's high or Friday's high, then we have a gap up. So the first order of business is filling the gap, looking for support at yesterday's high. If we open inside yesterday's range, if we open inside this A period over here, well, then we would expect more chop. We would expect the market to have to grind around a little bit before it builds up the support to get going. Whereas if we gap up, if we open up here, we may instantly bring in that support with a gap and go. So that's the first order of business. Do we open above or below yesterday's high? And then basically, where do we find support? I would be looking for support right in this area where the overnight found it, around the 45.34 area. So if we do open inside yesterday's range and get some chop, that would be where I would expect for the market to start finding support. And then basically, if it can get above 45.49, I'll get really bullish for continuation to the upside. And ideally, what I'd like to see is it pushes above, comes back down, then finds some support in this node right here. That would be buyable to me for continuation to start backfilling some of these single prints we left behind on Thursday. Okay, and then the next major resistance above us is going to be the base of those single prints, which is, or I guess the base of the spike down, which is 45.67. So that is the next major resistance above. So once again, market opens. We're looking for support in here around 34. If we can get above 48, so we would expect to chop between the two, but if we can get above 48, I would look for continuation up to 67. Okay, looking for resistance in this node up here. And the general idea is, as we've talked about so many times before on this channel, the market likes to jump from large cumulative node to cumulative node. So we were in this one here, jumped straight down to here, boom, boom, within a day, broke this one, and then by the end of the next day, we had traveled all the way down to test the next big one down here. Now that we found support, why not head right back up to that next one up there at the base of that spike down? Okay, so that's the move I'm expecting to see here today. That's the highest probability in my mind. But we shall have to wait and see if we get support at the open. Getting below the overnight low would be bearish for continuation lower, and then we would start to take value into account and the fact that we have a new trend. So we really want that overnight low to hold as support today. Market open in uno momento. If you have not yet, please smash that thumbs up button. Really helps the channel to get those likes first thing on a Monday morning. Are you ready to make some money? Push that thumbs up. All right, so the market did open back inside Friday's range, so we're looking for chop. We'll be looking for resistance right around Friday's high in this little node of volume that we have up here around 45.45. And we'll be looking for support in the node around 45.34. And we assume that it might need to, because we opened in Friday's range, it might need to bounce around in here a little bit. The market loves chop first thing in the morning. Good morning, Scooball, Diego, Cyrus, Aviv, Laser Eye, David Glass, Hustler Forever, Dean, Joe, MW, Philip, Design Knob, and TV. Welcome, welcome. Gunk, good morning to you. Looks like the NQ gapped up. Oh, no, it did not. As you were. So the NQ didn't quite make it. I would call this the 3-day balance in here. So the NQ didn't quite get to test that balance area high on Friday. But the overnight traded in the upper end of the range, which is bullish, same as ES. So I would look at its analysis exactly the same, expecting chop. If we break the overnight high, it's not very far to go, but then we're looking to get up towards 14,970. And then monitor for continuation higher from there. Nilesh, welcome from Mumbai. Good to have you. All right, so we're looking for support in this area here, right around 33, 34. If we don't get buyers stepping in, things will get bearish pretty quick. Design knob might as well get a big sell-off liquidation, then V it up the rest of the day. Sure. We've seen it before. Greg H., good morning to you. J Trader, Sanju, good morning. Boss Man, welcome. Good to see you. All right, well, we got a little bit of support here around that 33, 34 level, but they don't seem to have enough. The sellers are piling on here, right at the halfback. And as we know from history repeating itself, if we don't have the buyers at support here, we often have to pull the market down lower, looking for buyers at a lower level. So next support I would see around 45.30-ish. Jimmy Woo, welcome. Good to see you. Okay, more resistance at the halfback, implying we don't have the buyers just yet. Okay, halfback remains resistance. Once again, if we didn't have the buyers before, we often need to pull back down looking for more buyers at a lower price. But it's not quite bearish yet because this is just chop. Just looking for the buyers to try to get above yesterday's high. All right, well, there you go. That came in quick. All right, so the chop continues. We push up into this node of resistance right at yesterday's high and see, can we get above it? Getting above there, coming back down and finding support in that node would be extremely bullish for continuation to the upside. But I wouldn't trust it until we came back and found support. Until then, it is likely to act as resistance. It's worth noting that so far this morning, we have value overlapping to higher. That could be a signal that the downtrend that we've had the last 3 days could be coming to an end with a change in that pattern in value. Of course, value is developing. If this breaks and pulls lower, they'll pull the value area down. But just one more signal to consider. Jack, good morning. Welcome. Jeremy, NQ blazing. Yeah, NQ looks a lot more bullish than the ES. Man, see, they're already above the overnight high. See? All right, so they're pushing into resistance. Look for a pullback and support right around that overnight high, which is also the halfback, 14,940. If they do find support there, it's good for continuation higher. ES still chopping away. Chop suey. Screwball overnight was net long. Yeah, but like barely. You know what I mean? Friday closed here and we opened right here. So a little tiny bit of overnight inventory, but not much. Jeremy, the NQ is past the original target. Do I have another one? Yeah, I mean, the idea is, right? We broke the larger momentum to the downside. Oh, they won't let me zoom out any more than this. Let me get on the daily. The idea is we broke the larger momentum to the downside, right? We broke that here. So if we broke out of that, we're doing one of two things. We're either going to go sideways in a range like this over the daily, or we've begun the process of heading back to all-time highs. If we believe it's the latter, that we're on our slow climb back up to highs, well, then all we would see those last few days as is balance, just balancing off that excess. Excess, balance. What does that set us up for? Potentially more excess. So if the markets stay bullish here today, ES still has to get above the overnight high. But if the NQ can stay above it, they can just kind of start working their way higher. And there's no specific target to the upside. Just monitor for continuation. Just see how far it can go. I would say certainly the next major resistance is probably like 15,184. But I don't know if we get all the way up there today. So we shall see. Looking for support at the overnight high. 14,940. Jose, good morning to you. Trading Donkey, you could donkey trade short the daily regular trading hours one time framing, but I'm not expecting much out today. You mean short yesterday's high for continuation lower? Yeah, I suppose. I would say, though, the NQ being so strong increases the odds that we're going to break the chop to the upside, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I saw that, Amir. Elon Musk bought a big chunk of Twitter. Okay, so what was resistance before, that area of halfback, is now becoming support. Is it enough to get above the overnight high? I'm sorry, Friday's high. Scooball feeling bearish this morning. NQ needs a pullback, and it can be a big one with that FOMO from this morning. ES can't go higher, even with that FOMO buying at NQ. We'll have to agree to disagree. I think ES wants to go higher. Just got to test Friday's high. See what happens when we get there. All right, well, it is a little bit bullish that we just pushed above the overnight high. I'm sorry, Friday's high. We're looking for support now. We'd like to see the buyers step in here. Obviously, we have to backfill this level with only 35 contracts in it. And actually the two levels below it. So we got to pull back down towards 45, 43 and look for some support there. It's also worth noting we're beginning to pull that value area higher. That is a little bit bullish to see. Okay, so the first step to getting a bullish breakout here today was to see the market get above Friday's high. The next step, we needed to pull back down and create support. That's the confirmation that the market wants to continue to push higher. Technically, we could just bring in support at a higher price. That would also count as being bullish, but I'd much rather backfill these low volume nodes first and then get continuation. It would be more reliable support. All right, well, we appear to have some short covering happening. It's certainly more short covering than new money buying, if you look at the internals. So that still isn't as bullish to me. But I will say I'm bullish now. assuming we will get that support on the backfill here, but I think we need to pull back down and test Friday's high once more for support, just because the ticks look so weak. Next resistance above is 45.60, 25, all the way up to 67. Again, I just really want to reiterate to everyone, this is short covering. This will retrace very, very quickly, so you don't want to be going long up here. But it's a good indication that the market is bullish today, making pullbacks buyable. But you don't want to FOMO in at the high. Laser, I assume that's a typo. You said my start enter with ES instead of any MES. I assume you mean the other way around. Boss man, how can I tell in based on the internals whether it's short covering? Well, again, I never know for sure, but I was watching as the price of the NQ was going straight up and the ticks were going straight down. And the ES was going up and the ticks were just kind of grinding around the zero line. So that's not bullish, right? Well, what the heck's going on here? If they're not buying the underlying shares, but the price of the futures is going up, what on earth could be causing that? Well, it's people covering their shorts in the futures. It's not new buyers building up inventory. It's old sellers getting out of that inventory. And also just how thin the volume is on the way up. You know, all this very, very thin volume that you see in here. That's a sign that it's more short covering and less new money buying. The way new money buying works is it's like stairs. They keep getting in every time it pulls back. When it goes straight up like that, that's not new money buying. That's just people freaking out. That's panicking out. Not slowly convincing new buyers and new buyers and new buyers to get in. All right, well, with the printing of the B period, we have pulled the value area higher. That is bullish to see. Again, as a signal that the 3-day downtrend we had at the end of last week has clearly come to an end. So that increases the odds the market either wants to go sideways or higher today, but not continuation lower. Which is a little bit bullish. Okay, so next resistance is up at 45.60.50. That's the bottom of this large cumulative node we've got above us here. And then if we can get through that area, we would target the base of the spike down, 45.67.75. So if we can get through 60, we target 75 or 67. But we will be expecting some resistance here. Yeah, these internals, these ticks, man, they have my spidey senses tingling. Price action is bullish, but these internals are not. Setting ourselves up for a little liquidation break to look for support around yesterday's high. The Beep iceberg developing at 45.56. Somebody is fighting the buyers off. $45.56. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're either about to break this to the upside or downside. Break it to the upside, we get a pop up to 60. Break it to the downside, pull back down towards 45. Who's it going to be? Buyers or sellers? All right, so far, buyers defending. Can they hold it? All right, the buyers seem to be bringing in the support here. So looking up at that 60 level for resistance above. Design knob, Jesus Christ, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me, design knob. How are you getting ruined? We've been over this so many times. Don't risk any amount of money that can lead to ruin. Ever. You should be able to have 4 or 5 horrible trading days in a row and still not blow up your account. On a pullback on the NQ, look for support between 14,987 and 14,973. That little area around the halfback should act as support. NQ looks bullish, but in need of a pullback. Boss man, considering NQ opened above its previous close, however, since the close is within the range, isn't that considered a spike, correct? No, the NQ didn't spike on Friday, did it? Or did it spike down? H. No. It was rotational Friday, so it didn't spike either way. So spike rules were not in play this morning. Spike is something that only happens in the last 30 minutes of the day. That A period, that was the first 30 minutes of the day. It's not a bad trade designed up to pull back a little bit on the Q. It's just a question of how long do you let it keep punishing you? How many when, what, should happens don't before you finally get squeezed, you know? I would also say there's strong support in these 14,990s down here. Buyers are waiting. All right, so we backfilled that first low volume node on the ES. Is that enough to bring in the buyers here? It would appear it is not. Not just yet. All right, looking for support in here. Should be buyers waiting right where those low volume nodes were. We still have not backfilled them. I'm not going to lie, guys, the ticks are very confusing to read today. They are sending me all sorts of mixed signals here. I'd like to say that's the support right there, and now we're going to break the A period high and get continuation higher, but not with the ticks below the 0 line. There we go. All right, I think that was the support. So now we're heading back up to try to get get above that A period high. Bossman would like to see NQ test its single prints. Well, yeah, this isn't technically single prints. It's a buying tail. Or a selling tail. Because it's at the low of the day. But I know what you mean. You want to see it pull back a little bit more. Jeremy. I hate the psych levels like 15,000 for NQ. Charles, have you ever noticed any weak hands around these levels when we just bounce around? I noticed the round numbers as like magnets for price. Like if you get close to it, you know you're going to head up and touch that price. But not really anything beyond that. All right, so it looks like we did bring in enough support there at at Friday's high to try to break out above that A period high here, which of course would be bullish. Scooball, can we go through that resistance? Of course we can. It's taking a bit of work, taking a bit of effort for the buyers. We also just created a poor high there in the B period. So a push away from a poor high is normal. Looking for support to come back and repair it later. Okay, there's the repair of the poor high. We're looking for resistance up at 45.60.25. All right, everyone. Well, with that, I'm going to switch on over to the private stream. As far as what to leave you with here today, value being higher today is a sign that this little downtrend we got into last week is over. And that, in my mind, increases the odds that it was just balancing off this excess. So now we've done that. We've balanced off that excess. We can begin a new auction. It would seem, for the moment, with value being higher today and the market now beginning the process of one time framing higher, it would make sense that that new auction is going to be to the upside. So we got lots of resistance above us here between where price currently is and 45.70. So we'll look for some resistance in there. If we're able to get through that and get back up into the value area from yesterday, it'll be or from Thursday, sorry. It'll be a quick push from like 45.70 up to like 45.90. Again, looking at those cumulative, getting from the one node to the next, and then we could look for continuation from there. So we could potentially be setting ourselves up for a really bullish day, or maybe a day that just kind of rotates inside this area. That would make a lot of sense too, because there's so much resistance in this node just above us. We may kind of just poke up in there and then kind of do this dance for the rest of the day. I could see that happening as well. Create a nice P-shaped profile. So yeah, bullish to neutral is the way I would describe myself here today. Best of luck, happy trading, and we will see you all tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Only 55 likes so far. If you don't mind just smashing that thumbs up button on your way out, sure would appreciate it. Help to send some more people my way tomorrow.